Hey, if you're a CEO or business owner or a member of the senior leadership team, I have a question for you. And that is, what is your leadership ethos? I'm not talking yours personally, but of your company. Now, what in the world is a leadership ethos? I want to I want to show you that for a moment because today everyone's talking about culture and how we need to build high performing cultures. Of course, we help companies do that, but nested within a culture, there also has to be a think of it as a culture within the culture, and it has to do with leadership. And basically, the question is, what does it mean to be a leader in your organization? So, I want you to think about the Navy SEALs for a moment. Why would somebody want to become a Navy SEAL? When you think about the how difficult it is, how challenging it is, and someone might think, "Oh, well, maybe they get paid more." No, they don't. And so if someone just says, well, they're doing it to serve their country, well, you could serve your country in the Navy and not have to be a Navy SEAL, that extra challenge. So, why do people do it? Well, it's because the SEALs means something. And there are many things that it means to different people, but it's challenging. It takes only the best of the best. There's a certain thing that when you get in there, it's certainly a recognition of who you are, but not only that, once you get in there, you grow a lot. And so, a number of years ago, the SEALs decided to create an ethos, and you can go and read that on their website. But basically, they wanted to sit down and figure out, what does it mean to be a SEAL? And again, I'm not going to read this ethos for you, but you can go ahead and read it. But in a sense, they were trying to capture into words what it means. And it's very inspiring if you read through this. It ends with, I will not fail, but talks about being a warrior, about being courageous, about all these different things, not necessarily about the skills, but more about who you are as a person. And so this brings me back to the question, why would I want to do that? Now, I'm not talking about SEALs here, because what happens in a lot of organizations is if you were able to find out from your frontline employees, so people who are not in leadership yet, and you ask them, hey, have you ever thought about being in management? What comes out of their mouth next will tell you a lot about your leadership ethos in your company. And so this is a quote from an hourly employee I was talking to with a company we were working with. And I said, hey, how come you're not in leadership, in management? And their response was, why would I want to do that? So in other words, they looked at it as that would be a detriment to me. That would be not worth it to me. In other words, the cost of being in management is greater than the benefit of being in it. Let's go back to the Navy SEALs for a moment. The cost of being in the Navy SEALs is high. The benefits are not low from a pay perspective, of course, yes, but it's the intangible benefits that tip the scales. And so, gone are the days when people are excited to go into management so they can have a corner office, so they can get the company car, so they can, whatever it is, fill in the tangible perks. But again, back to the Navy SEALs, it means something. And so, what does it mean to be in leadership in your organization? We shouldn't waltz people into leadership. We shouldn't try to, soft sell it. And this is why you need an ethos. Leadership's difficult. Like, it's not easy. Like, it's easier just to not do that. It's like parenting. It's easier to not be a parent, right? When you become a parent, you take on all this responsibility. And of course, you do it because you love your kids. Well, the same about going into management. It's going into any kind of leadership. It's not easy, nor should we tell people that it's easy. It's difficult. But there's something actually good about that. We want people to understand it's difficult, but it's a place where you get to make a difference. That's another intangible that is drawing for people. Hey, if you want to make a bigger difference in your life, being in leadership in our company is a place where you can do that, right? It's also a place where people are needed. Yes, we need people in leadership, but when you're in leadership, you're able to have a bigger impact and you're needed in that role. Or it's a greater sense of of being needed. And at the end of the day, all of us want to be significant, right? We want our lives to count. So again, this is going to come back to, I hate to use the word perks, because we think of perks, we think of tangible things. And of course, there are a few tangible perks that will come with being in leadership, but what are the intangibles? So that's the question to ask. Why is it worth being in management in my company, right? What are the intangibles that people think about? Because when you have built the correct ethos, you will have a line at the door of people wanting to be in leadership. Just like the SEALs have a line at their door of people who want to get in to being a Navy SEAL, right? And it could even mean just a place of like, you are going to grow here. But at the end of the day, this is the question that it comes back to. What does it mean to be a leader in your organization? So if you've not done this yet, then I encourage you to sit down. If you're the CEO, or pull in your senior team and have this discussion. Because think of it like this. You're probably too busy to do a lot of the leadership training. And if you're in a larger organization, that's why you have a training department or an HR, or there's different people that you've assigned that task to. And they're going to teach the skills, they're going to give the tools, all the things that are necessary. But leadership is more than just a bunch of tools and tactics and, how to hold someone accountable. Of course, that's needed. But what drives that is an ethos. Because here's what I've learned in 2 decades of training leaders. You can give someone a framework to hold them accountable, or to hold a staff member accountable. You can teach them, in a sense, frameworks for difficult conversations. They can have all the skills and tools, but they still have to do it and to overcome those internal fears. In other words, to be courageous. Where that comes from the ethos of the leadership culture that you are building, and that you as the CEO are continuing to reinforce and drive and inspiring people to be, right? Leadership should be a place of inspiration. Leadership should be a place where people who want to grow are knocking on that door saying, hey, pick me, I would love to do this. And when you have a well-defined ethos that is inspirational, aspirational, then you're going to see a massive impact in the productivity, the engagement, and the performance of your organization.